Welcome to the iPad Possibilities Podcast with Tim Chatton. Episode number 2, Music Education with Dr. Tim Brimmer. Well, welcome, and this is the iPad Possibilities Podcast. I'm Tim, and I'm your host of this show. And this week, we are discussing music education and the iPad. What implications does the iPad bring to music education? What use cases can we see for this device in music education? And what's the future that we hope to see with the iPad in music education? What kind of cool things can people do in music education field that they haven't been able to do in the past due to hardware and software limitations? And to discuss this topic, I've asked Dr. Tim Brimmer to join me. He is a professor at Butler University. He teaches many music education courses at Butler University and is also the founder of the Multisensory Learning Facility at Butler University. And that is a facility, it's a first-class Macintosh lab based on iMacs. And it's a great facility with different hardware and software that students can come in and just play with technology and really get some powerful work done. And he's also the director of Jordan Jazz, a vocal group at Butler University. And I'm very excited to have him join me today. And without further ado, we'll jump right into the discussion on the iPad and music education.
All right, so I'm glancing through this. Private lesson usage.
Yep.
Anything that the student could do on a computer, they could do on a MacBook, is basically for applied lessons.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and large ensembles, you could use it for sheet music. That would be an obvious. You know, there's a company that makes music stands, and all they are is just music. But
yeah, and
very simple application to convert it to a PDF reading the score.
Mm-hmm. And I was thinking you could actually have a conductor push out parts to the entire ensemble when they meet and stuff, and have it syncing, for when they're going through.
Do you know anything about the Mac's Bonjour capability?
I think it's built into the iPhone OS because I'm pretty sure it's done before in other apps.
If that were the case,
it's an iPhone
classroom
OS.
Instruction. It wouldn't just be music, but any kind of classroom instruction. The whole thing about clickers, and they would do away. It would make clickers obsolete.
I think it'd be cool. Jeopardy apps or whatever. You have a buzzer now that interacts with iPad or whatever. Not really music related, but I guess you could with certain instances like that.
Your third category are so that's huge. The large ensemble usage would be really obvious.
Yeah.
The private lesson usage would be similar to what we're doing with the laptop now.
Right.
Or a computer and tutorial stuff.
Well, one thing it'd be cool with private lessons, a teacher could actually, or I guess not even a teacher, but they could have a work pad or a practice pad app that guides you through whatever time restraints you're in. Say you only have 30 minutes to work and practice that night. You have an application called Practice Pad, which generates a practice routine with your coursework for your clarinet or saxophone to encompass scales and repertoire that are used in what you need to work on. Say you have an hour, it generates a different practice repertoire, and this could help you with playback simultaneously while you're doing it. It could include tuning capabilities to help you get better pitch. It could be a wide variety of things with a practice application that simply, say you only have 10 minutes, it will guide you through the most streamlined way to practice. I think the potential here with private lessons and helping students to practice more efficiently is just incredible.
Let's see. Now I'm back to the websites that you gave, and the third one was labs. applications that interface with the Macs, including mixing boards and instruments.
Right.
How much RAM is there on an iPad?
That I don't know. I know it's a 1 gigahertz processor.
One thing I thought that made sense to me was anybody having a wireless or Bluetooth keyboard or mouse. It appears that they would simply and automatically work with an iPad.
Right, they do. At least the keyboards do. So all the Bluetooth, like Apple keyboards, I know work with it. Mice.
So basically, once they were paired, you would have the option of taking a computer in 2 separate components with no cable connecting.
Right.
And you could set your iPad either on a desk or hang it on the wall or put it on a stand, and wherever you put it, there it'd be.
Right.
As far as the lab goes, the projection, the cable out, would be a big selling factor if the projection could handle what we can do now with the like the MacBook Pro's cable out.
Yes, it does VGA for output. So it's pretty much like a laptop in that instance. At least Macs, at least.
Composition?
Yeah, that could be pretty interesting on this device.
Finelli and Sibelius, they're pretty keyboard intensive.
Yeah, I mean, you could potentially have hardware support via the dock like you can in OS 3.0. You can actually use the dock and create an interface to MIDI keyboards, I could see. And with the screen size, I could think that could happen. And, sorry.
How much screen you could see that would be an issue with how many staves and how many measures.
Right.
Yeah.
You could pretty easily create a piano piece on it, you know.
Okay, so ability to use several iPad instruments and record them and mix them all together. Now, if iPad could do GarageBand and keep up with it, that could be incredible.
Yeah, because they showed off iWork. I would imagine at some point they'd introduce some of the iLife apps.
How reasonable is a Bluetooth keyboard, piano keyboard?
I think it's pretty reasonable because it's not transmitting that much data. It's like a regular... It would appear to be like a regular alphabetical keyboard in that case, right? So just telling you what notes they are. It wouldn't be pressure sensitive or anything.
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering. I don't know how much Bluetooth could handle. So it'd be wisest probably to have a USB connection.
Right.
You have to do some sort of dongle to USB?
There's currently a camera connection kit to connect cameras via USB or pop in a SD card to the iPad. And
iPad will take an SD card?
It will via a dongle. So you could be out on a photo shoot and just pop in an SD card via the dongle and start editing right in spot, which is kind of cool.
Okay, your fifth point was instruments. Wide variety of instruments. It could form ensembles and even use iPhone instruments. That would be fun. So the idea of what we've done with MIDI taken to the next level.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, right now, the keyboard apps on the iPhone, the piano apps, they're great, but you're limited to like a single octave. Imagine a 3 or 4 octave piano on this thing. You'd have room for an organ even with, dual boards,
Right now I have one really good piano, and there are 2 that I use regularly. A metronome that I rely on constantly. Zooz Beat, Z-O-O-Z, is a rap device that would make a lot more sense on a Mac and an iPad than it would on the phone.
Right.
Drum kits, obviously, you'd have more space to play them.
Yeah.
So there's some things that would lend themselves better to, at least in my music collection here.
Mm-hmm.
uh, you're talking about pedagogy. The Tap Tap series, the Revenge 2, and Tap Tap 3. Have you
Oh,
played
yes.
any of those?
Yeah, I've played with a couple of them.
What I want to do is to expand that to sight reading, and the game that they have built into it is already for 2 people. But if iPad were serious about that, they could do the same thing, or you could have 3 or 4 people all they need is to be around the machine.
Right.
So there are lots of potential things there. For music ed, that's one of the things that grabs me, because you could have 4 people huddled around playing games, competing with each other, trying to get more musically accurate.
Yeah.
So it'd be a fun way to have friends just working in small groups.
Right. And I was thinking of something for Music History 1, the music chorale books that they had early on. They had 4 parts in one book that were facing the 4 different players. You could recreate the early books where you had 4 different staffs on one page facing everybody and have a portable, you know.
Yep, just like in the early Renaissance.
Yeah, and something I found interesting, Note Flight. Have you heard of Note Flight at all?
Yes.
Well, the creators actually posted on, it was James Frankel's blog. I'm not sure if you know. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't he the head of Soundtree now?
Yeah. He's the, what is he?
Yeah, online notation software. Yeah, we're testing it in the lab. I've got a couple people looking at it.
Yeah, he's the managing director of Soundtree. Yeah. And they pointed out that Note Flight isn't tied to Flash, and they actually plan on porting that Note Flight to different apps on Apple's Portal devices, such as the iPad, in the future.
Well, that shows a lot of potential. You could collaborate and compose, mix.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Okay, so I'm down to highlights from the Dr. Frankel blog post.
Yes. James
bring an iPad and a baton.
Yeah. James Frankel. If you go to jamesfrankel.musiced.net, he posted a blog post on 2 years in the future what this iPad could be for education and music, and he kind of described a typical day in the life of I think it's a middle school teacher, and went through some.
JamesFrankel.com.
JamesFrankel.
.musiced.net.
Yes.
Possible future for iPads and tablet PCs in the classroom. Okay. Posted January 31st. You are up to date, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, I would love to read this. I don't want to take your time now, but thank you for drawing my attention to that.
Yeah. Let's see.
2 years in the future, talking about a middle school. The opening bell rings. Okay, I'll gladly read through that.
Yeah, I saw that, and I did some highlights that I wanted to just cover, because initially I was thinking I could read it and it's full on here, but it was going to be way too long to do that. One thing I saw was pretty cool for schools, attendance software. So as the iPads have GPS on it, you could tell if a student was in the classroom or on the way to class in a hallway or simply not coming today. And
they can do that now with iTouch and iPhone, and the universities who have it really like it.
Yeah, I mean,
did you hear about the Japanese university that is they're passing out iPhones to the students in a way to cut down on truancy? They said.
What's truancy?
Truancy is skipping when when Japanese kids skip school.
Yeah. Wow. And they're just tracking each iPhone with the GPS to see if they're there or not.
Yep, they can
Oh,
tell
wow.
exactly where they are. So again,
That's
they
wild.
bought 500 to see if they could do some test comparisons. And the students would try all sorts of things to get out of going to class, but they will not give up their iPhone or loan it to someone else to sneak out of attendance. So some
Right.
kid would walk in with 20 iPhones in their pocket, and everybody gets credit for being there.
Yeah.
The students are not sharing their iPhones.
Are they turning off the location awareness? I mean,
They have to have it locked on, I think.
I guess it would, if they turned it off, it'd mean they're not there. I mean, still.
Right.
Yeah, so.
Right. So they still would get counted against. Cool.
And then I saw they're talking about daily announcements. Middle school, you open the morning with 10 minutes, 15 minutes of announcements. They could do that via RSS on the iPad, just automatically downloads when they arrive at school.
Yeah. And you could click through them really fast, and you wouldn't need to take everybody's time.
Yeah, exactly. It's 10 minutes every day.
That would save a huge amount of time if they could do it while they're on the way, while they're on the bus, while they're,
Yeah, exactly.
And there's some sort of check to say, I've read them, I clicked this, I agree, whatever they want to do. They could do it a lot better than just announcements.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you've got Frankel's notes pasted in there, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any? One interesting.
Lots of.
Sorry.
Well, you've got. I'm sorry. You've got GarageBand for the iPad, definitely. That would be a huge tool. Now compare it. It's not an iPhone, so you don't have the monthly charges.
Right.
But it's also not a computer or desktop or laptop, so you don't have the cost.
Right. I mean, at $500, that's something a lot of schools could afford for the teachers. Have iPad carts.
Would do it?
I think 500 will do it. That's half the price. Of a regular MacBook. I think it's pretty affordable for what it can do.
The specs, yeah. Okay.
So I've seen the speed of this thing with people that actually have had hands-on time with it. It's lightning fast. You have latency now when you turn the iPhone different directions. It's instantaneous sensing the accelerometer and everything else. Safari is actually fast like it is on a laptop because it's not limited by the CPU anymore.
And this other website, iPad Possibilities, was posted on Sunday, 31st, talking about Logos and Omni Group.
Yeah, that's my site there, iPad Possibilities, or iPadPossibilities.com.
Okay, so you gathered other sources. This is people who are companies who have already committed.
Right.
And I can see laying it out. The Bible was not just all lots and lots of text. Sometimes it's poetry.
Yeah.
Show it as such.
And it's easy to link to, say, the original Greek or whatever. And, simply, it's a pretty cool app. And Evernote, I'm excited about, especially for when I start my own private music studio, because you can store all your PDFs and whatnot in Evernote. And with the speed of the iPad, you'll be able to pull them up really quickly because it does offline storage on the iPad. So you could have your entire private lesson teaching repertoire all on that device with Evernote, which would be pretty cool, I think.
So Evernote is a quick way to get to and from lots and lots of your personal notes?
Personal notes, and I think eventually they'll add shared support. Right now it's just on the web client, the way you're accessing the show notes this time. They're going to be adding that to all the mobile platforms and desktop clients as well. So it's possible to access shared notes that way too in the future.
iPhone is input device 2. Why no 4 cameras?
Oh, I was...
Your Evernote shared comments
Oh yeah. With the
from the January 30th.
with the video cameras, I was thinking why there isn't one on the front of the device currently. And as I was watching the keynote and the videos released by Apple, it became pretty obvious. Apple wants you to be able to use the iPad in any orientation that you want to. So you don't have to conform to the device itself. The device conforms to you. So that brings up an interesting scenario with the video camera on the front to do video conferencing. How would you do that without having 4 cameras on the device? So say you're holding it horizontally, then it knows where you're holding it and turns that camera on. If you're holding it vertically, it turns the other camera on.
I have a thing called eyeglasses
Mm-hmm.
that I can rotate, and I suspect it would be real easy to put a component in there that does the orientation. I'm looking for my device. My eyeglasses is an add-on to any video device like iMovie or Skype or iChat or iChat, that I can turn my face sideways. I can rotate it.
So you're saying the scenario with iPad, you could have a single camera on the front that rotates as you rotate the device?
It could. Yep. The technology's already there. Eyeglasses is a third party, and I spent like $20 for it.
That could be
I
interesting.
got it because it blows up the quality. When I'm in a dark room, I can make it super sensitive. I can zoom in. I can make it black and white, and I can do funny things. But I can also, in almost total blackness, I can turn it on to night vision.
Oh, that's cool.
So if we were video conferencing right now, I could do that and show you.
And then, I'm not sure
that could be attached to it.
Yeah, that could be pretty interesting. I'm not sure.
I'm still hoping that they can get a camera put on.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, it'll be helpful, not a deal breaker for me at least. Did you see, do you know much about the Omni Group?
Yeah.
They're kind of like a productivity software group that does high-end Mac software. It's kind of like a office type of application set that does a bunch of different things like that. And
5 key apps coming out for the iPad.
And the 5 apps are
OmniFocus, OmniGiraffe, OmniGraph Sketcher, OmniOutliner, and OmniPlan. I wonder what those do.
Right. And let's see. Let me pull up what they do.
They've got links on.
Yeah. So OmniGraphel is a diagramming app. So you can diagram different things. That could be interesting in lab setting, And with OmniOutliner, obviously it's a really awesome outliner application. And with OmniPlan, that's just a project management tool. So say if you're running a music lab or whatnot, you could, manage some pretty advanced projects you're working on.
Okay.
And then OmniFocus, they have this on the iPhone already, and it's one of the apps that I use in my dock. It's one of my 4 apps. It's a getting things done productivity app, which is it's a good app. It's location aware and things like that. And then the one that intrigues me the most is OmniGraph Sketcher, which I can imagine with the iPad graphing and doing different sketches like that, as I see for the Mac version, is going to be just phenomenal. I think that's the best one of the bunch that they announced.
I'm looking at their website as you're describing this. For graphics, exporting, importing, click and drag anything, put curves in context, and plot data, and draw your graphs. So it does all the stuff you want with your finger instead of a pen.
Yeah.
Is there ever going to be a pen that touches the screen on an iPhone or an iTouch or an iPad?
It's funny you mentioned that. Today, I actually got an iPhone stylus. I actually ordered one on Thursday because when the iPad was announced, I saw that could be pretty cool. I discovered an application called WritePad, which it converts your handwriting to text, like the Apple Newton did those many years ago, which I've been playing around with.
You have one of those. Okay.
Yeah, so I've been using the Newton for a couple months now, and I saw this WritePad app on the iPhone, and I tested it out with just my finger, and it worked pretty well. And they've got styluses. There's a Pogo stylus and some others.
Oh, 49 cents.
And it works pretty well. And the handwriting recognition is pretty amazing for the small screen. And when the iPad comes out, it's going to just dwarf the Newton as far as, screen space. And so it's pretty exciting with that, especially with drawing apps. And I could see music notation would be helpful having a pen. So you could actually draw in special notation or whatever. With abstract music right now on the computer, the traditional laptop or desktop, it's pretty difficult to add your own custom, notation and things like that. But with the iPad having all the touch capabilities and using a stylus with it, you could do some pretty advanced abstract, composition for it.
So you bought this Pogo iPhone stylus?
Yeah, I did. I actually got it in today.
$14, and that's it, huh?
Yeah, I bought a different brand. It wasn't the Pogo exactly. I forget. It was an off-brand. It was, I think, $10 when all said and done. Okay. It works pretty well. I was pretty impressed with it.
You like the precision?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I think I should have actually gone with the Pogo. I think the quality is probably better on that one. It didn't have the... you had to press down kind of hard to get it to work. I think the Pogo would be a lot better, just in quality. So I'm going to have to get one of those in at a later date, not right away, though. That's one thing people were complaining about there's no stylus for the iPad. They've had them for a while.
Okay. So, Tim, where do you want to go with all of this?
With what exactly?
You and I haven't had the pleasure of talking serious shop for a long time.
We have not.
And now this iPad comes out, and we've had a power chat now and it's been on the books for a week.
Yeah.
What's on your career future? What's on your horizon?
I'm on the process of starting up a music studio for teaching younger age students clarinet and saxophone and possibly even composition. And I was doing the math. I could make a decent living at it too if I get the numbers right. I always, as a student myself, when I was growing up, I didn't really think you could make a good living at it, but I was doing the math. It's pretty exciting. And I saw with the iPad, this could be a really exciting device for private lessons. Having interest in kids, to hold their attention even more with using this kind of technology. And I'm also in the process of getting a business started called Chad Media Solutions, which converts analog sources to digital sources. So anything from audio, video, or paper even to digital formats for people to use. And it's getting exciting with this with the iPad because I'll obviously make it work flawlessly with this device.
Yeah. Chad Media Solutions?
Yep, it's at chadmediasolutions.com. And the music studio is found at chattonmusicstudio.com. Yeah, exactly.
Media Solutions. This is what you're working on?
Yep, that's it. I actually finished my first project
Video
last
to
week.
audio to paper. Moving to the digital age.
One thing I just thought of earlier this week was, band music libraries, converting those to PDFs or whatnot. So when a student loses that original part, they don't have to buy a whole new set of copies because of an irresponsible student. So what are your just overall impressions on the iPad, and what are your feelings about it, positive or negative?
First, it's exciting to just have something. As Americans, our biggest thing that makes us Americans is that we're living an experiment. I think unlike any other country, our country is the land of experiment. That's what sets us apart. That's what's given us our strength, our history, our identity. So the iPad and Apple and innovation in general it belongs here. That's my first impression. The second impression is that Steve Jobs is at it again. And if you haven't played with, an iPod, you don't know what it is. And you can't just borrow someone's for a couple weeks.
Right.
So I'm thinking, as I'm seeing that and the way that they're using it, it's just the screen. And to heck with a keyboard, but you can use it if you want. So everything that you want a screen for, you can interact with it, you can touch it. But what do we do with the screen? We look at other people, we watch movies. One of the coolest things that I think would work well, that we have already hoped for in our lab, is that it's made by Microsoft. It's called the Table, Microsoft
The Surface?
Surface.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with screens like we have now is that the moment you hold it up, it's between you and someone else.
Right. That's the problem with laptops. They get in the way when you're in a meeting, and they kind of put a barrier up.
Yep. So as far as people flow, they're not good. The iPad has the potential, if you could just lay something down between or among people, just have it on a coffee table. And everybody can look at the picture, and you could orientate it if you needed to, but people could look at something in two-dimensional from lots of different angles. And it would bring people together rather than what the laptop or the desktop does now, separating people. Just that fact alone lends itself really well to collaboration. It's the next step. I suppose a hologram would be the ultimate.
Yeah.
Because that's digital as well, and it's light. But you could see through it. It wouldn't be blocking. Holograms aren't to the point where we can interact with them yet.
Yeah.
So this is a huge leap in that direction. What are some of the things you can do? Wendy Meaden in our theater department teaches graphic, costuming, costume design, graphic layout, a whole bunch of things like that. And the chance for her to teach and work with people from a lot of different angles, she could be doing it on an iPad, drawing the image how she wanted, maybe with that stencil. It might be wise for me to get one of those.
Yeah.
And I have put in for an iPad as soon as they come out. I just don't know which one to get.
Yeah, I was wondering if you decided if you're going to get one on day one or...
Yeah, I need to play right away.
Is
price?
Butler able
Price?
to...
No, I've got to do it.
Yeah.
But the price is competitive, And if I can just get in at the ground level, based upon what you and other people say, should I just get the bare bones to get into it, or should I, go further up the line?
Well, there's two things. GPS is one of the things that the 3G model has that the Wi-Fi only version does not have. So if you are interested in any 3G application of this device, I go with the 3G version. And
does 3G require phone service?
No, the 3G version, it's pretty interesting. This is the model I'll probably end up getting, a 3G model, just simply because on the device itself, you turn on and off month by month if you want service or not. So it's $30 for unlimited service, and say you're going on a trip just this 1 month, you can turn service on for that 1 month, and it's $30, unlimited data, and you've got it all right there. And I think there will be a lot of people with buyer's remorse that one instance they wanted 3G but couldn't get it because they got the Wi-Fi only model. They'll be like, So I think 3G is a good insurance policy, so you can have internet if you need it, but most of the time it won't be turned on.
So you're suggesting the 3G?
I am. I mean, not everyone will need it, but I think it'll be useful as you use it more and more, and as the applications get more and more advanced. And I have a lot of applications, for instance, Evernote, which I use. It tags all the notes you take wherever you take them, so you can pull up a map of all the notes you've taken and see if I was in LA, I took notes, or if I was in Broad Ripple.
With my phone for photos.
Yeah, for photos, yeah. And Evernote does this for notes. So when I was in Broad Ripple, I was able to pull up, I took a note of a restaurant that I wanted to check out, and I think having GPS on it would be something substantial.
So it's $130 more for the Wi-Fi and 3G.
Right. Which it's not, yeah.
I need to budget for that. Okay. And you think, for starters, 16 gigabytes okay?
It depends on your usage. I think if you're going to be a huge video consumption, if you want to use it like that, I think you'll need at least 32 gigs just for storing video, because those can get large.
But if it doesn't have the camera in it, then all you're going to do is edit what you've already got.
Edit or consume video. Just watch video. And it just depends how you want to use it, how many apps you want to actually store on this device. I see the iPad as my main mobile OS device. Then the iPhone has a couple apps that you'll use on that smaller device. But iPad.
But just a minute, after you go up to a 32, for 100 more, you get double the price. So, boom, you're at $829.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because you're at 16, and then for double the capacity, it's only $100 more. Then double the capacity.
Right.
Then double the capacity at 32. 30. It's like you double for another $100. It's like irresistible to go with 64 gigabytes. It's like,
okay,
man,
the A4 is the operating system.
Is the CPU chip underneath.
How does that compare to?
It's what I've heard. It's similar to the Snapdragon that was demoed at CES this year. It's a 1 gigahertz processor, which is really snappy from what I've seen and heard from people that have actually held the device. It feels like from those that have held the device, they've told me it feels like a generation past the 3GS, so even faster, a full generation faster at least.
Than the 3GS.
Right. Which makes it usable.
So TV video is 1024 by 768. Dot connector to VGA. A 576p, 480p. So it's not going to feel like HD widescreen.
It won't. The screen is 4:3, not 16:9. And the reason for this is first off, all the iPhone apps run on this device. So upscaling to a 16:9 screen would not work at all. It needed to be kind of
4:3.
Yeah, and then also if you're reading books, 16:9 is not good. If you're surfing it would just feel weird to hold. Imagine that 27-inch or whatever, the 21.5-inch iMac. If you turn that into an iPad, it's just weird because it's so vertical. So I think for it to be as useful as possible in the most variety of circumstances, it was the right choice.
Closer to a square.
Right.
Closer to a square.
Yeah. And one of the cool things that Mophie
6.264, that's the industry standard.
Dr. B, have you seen the Mophie Flow TV?
No.
The Mophie, they make battery cases for the iPhone currently.
Let me go out and see.
And at CES, they demoed a case that streams Flow TV to the iPhone via an app and basically a private wireless network between that case and the iPhone. And you get live like CBS, NBC, ESPN, all these major networks. And I think it'd be pretty cool if Mophie came out with the version of that for the iPad, because you'd have a TV replacement for many people.
I'm looking at Mophie's site now, trying to understand what you're saying. Mophie has the Juice Pack TV.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Okay. Wow, and a magnetic strip reader for the iPhone 3G and 3G.
Yeah, that's
way out there.
That's really interesting because as a imagine farmers market now accepting credit cards, garage sales, we accept credit cards now. It's pretty cool for the small business owner who can now utilize credit card transactions.
So Mophie's out there on the front.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, they make great battery cases, but they're making some interesting other accessories to go along with it.
All right. So this is all exciting and good. Where do we go from here?
Well,
Okay.
What kind of applications do you think should be written just for this device? I mean, because with the iPhone, you're kind of limited with screen space. With the iPad, you're kind of limitless almost.
And you could put a camera in there. So you can't yet use it for phone.
No, but the latest SDK showed that you could actually use the 3G VoIP, and there's actually a couple apps that just got released that do 3G VoIP. So you can actually use the microphone inside there to talk over 3G. I mean, you could potentially use like a Bluetooth headset. So, I mean, in the future, you might actually be able to replace your iPhone with it, but I don't think it'll be really practical unless you get a Scotty vest and have huge pockets where you can just carry this thing around with you. Which actually ordered one of the Scotty vest pullover sweatshirts. I'm not sure if you've Googled Scotty vest before. They make technology-enabled clothing. And they've got they've got a bunch of pockets that balance the weight around so you don't feel that you have devices on you. And they hide them through some way. So you can be carrying around thousands of dollars worth of gear and you can't even see it from the outside. So, I mean, you could potentially people put in laptops in there,
It's the first clothing line with a pocket for the iPad.
Yep.
Oh, man. So you got one of these?
I got the pullover sweater because I wear sweaters a lot. I mean, the hoodies or whatever. So I got one of those.
A hoodie micro fleece or travel vest?
I got the cotton pullover hoodie.
Hoodies and pullovers. Cotton hoodie.
Yeah, I'll show it to you in a couple of days when I got it tricked out with all my gadgets in it.
So, where does all this stuff fit?
Um,
16 subtle pockets for your gadgets and gear.
yeah, I mean, check out the videos later on. It's kind of amazing what they've done because most of the time, even if you have the pockets, it'll still feel weird because it's so heavy, or it'll just look weird because you have, I mean, huge gadgets poking out of your coat. But they've done it in a way that hides all that.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Who would have thought?
Yeah, for real. Do you have any major disappointments with the Apple tablet? Did you expect it to be something different from what it was?
Did I expect the Apple tablet to be something different?
Yeah, did you expect more out of the iPad, or were you disappointed by it? I certainly wasn't, but I know many people. They were either really positive, really negative. They felt it should have something else in it that doesn't have.
There are two kinds of people. The ones who consider what could be and keep dreaming toward what's possible. And they come across as stupid and naive.
Yeah,
And the people who complain about anything and they come across, and I should describe them more, they complain first and they point out all the things that won't work.
right.
And then afterward, they give in or acquiesce when it's proven they're wrong, but only begrudgingly. So they approach it from a negative perspective, and they
Right.
first point out all the problems.
Yeah,
And they come across as wise and intelligent. I guess I'm more in the stupid category, more in the optimistic, what could be category.
yeah.
Because I believe in the world of possibilities, not the world of negative problems.
Right, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
So I think this is all
I've read
software.
a lot of the blogs that are happening about the iPad, and there's a lot of bashing because they look for what it doesn't have and then dwell on that.
Right.
No camera. And what else? There were some really obvious things, but rather than to gripe about it, Wall Street did an excellent review saying the price was shockingly low.
Yeah, it was half price, pretty much. People are expecting it to be $1,000, you know.
I don't know how they can do it. So my first impression is this is a lot for what they're proposing. Because the darn thing is a half-inch thick. Hold your hands at a half-inch.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the entire guts of the whole thing.
it's half the weight of the MacBook Air.
Really? The
It's
MacBook Air is 3 pounds?
3 pounds, and the iPad is only 1.5 pounds.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you can just, man, yeah. And the price point, if you get the highest end iPod Touch, it's at $400. For $100 more, you could get the low end iPad, which is remarkable.
Yeah, that is, and it's quite a shift. Well, so it far exceeds what I was hoping, and I wasn't buying into the hype. I was curious about what new gadgets they were coming out with.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how they can keep it quiet for so long.
Yeah, that was the cool thing. It's like, how do you hide this device for so long? You've had, I mean, so many people interested in this.
To get it this close and still maintain all your copyrights.
Yeah, exactly.
Your infringements.
Do you have any wants or desires of iPhone OS 4.0? What do you think they should put in there? Any iPad-related special software?
I would love for them to get away from the phone companies. All of the phone companies are just greedy, and I could add a whole bunch of explicatives. AT&T is one of the worst, but anybody who has money, of course, wants to hang on to their money.
Right.
Rather than invent new ways to talk, they're trying to lock down the airwaves.
Right.
And they realize that they're only as good as they can lock down the airwaves because the technology is racing way ahead of them for use of that airwave space. I don't know how much longer we're going to be. I think it's going to quickly evolve into um, this intellectual property where we've got the smartest idea, not just who can own the most amount of bandwidth. So I laud Apple for doing that, changing the paradigm quickly. They're not dragging their feet. And if there were something that could come out to bust up the phone companies, like Skype is trying to do, I think Apple would be a great solution. So I'd love for Apple to go beyond phone companies.
Yeah, I agree.
Just use all these towers. We can do it with GPS. You don't have to pay anybody for, a monthly service to get GPS.
No, yeah, there's a bunch of satellites up in the air and they find your location.
Yep, it's all there. So why couldn't we do that with audio too?
Yeah.
Anyway, those are my thoughts.
Okay.
Other questions?
Any other final comments or what you're most excited about as far as application for your own use or classroom use or anything like that?
Playtime.
Playtime.
Next thing I want is playtime. I just want to play.
Yeah.
I want to dream. I want to compose. I want to perform. I want to teach. I want to practice. Practice playing. And I am the first geek I can't wait to get my hands on an iPad.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I'm just gonna push it to see what it'll do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm always thinking in my mind, it's like, what can you do with this device? What applications are going to be written for this device that just weren't available with the small iPhone screen?
Yep.
Because
I'm meeting on Wednesday with our some research and development people for how to best utilize my time. I have next year, the second half of the year, I have a sabbatical.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I want to utilize that time.
Yeah. Because when
not trying to find student-teacher placements.
Right.
I would like to pass off the digital arts intro to other people.
Yeah.
And I'd like to teach advanced digital arts and create.
Oh, that would be cool.
Possibilities. And so, yeah, we could all look at and share our discoveries on a weekly basis. Meet for a seminar and share ideas and play together.
Right.
That's what's in my future. Thank you for asking. It's coming faster and faster.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time and everything. I really appreciate talking to you.
You're welcome. I will let you go.
We will close off the recording right now.
Great. Godspeed, sir.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that was our discussion on the iPad and music education. If you would like to find out more information on Dr. Tim Brimmer, you can find him at his website at web.mac.com/tbrimmer. And I would like to simply thank him once again for taking his time out of his schedule to discuss music education and the iPad with me. I would love if you guys could send in your feedback, questions, comments, concerns, and your thoughts actually on music education and the iPad. And if you'd like to send those in, send them to iPadPossibilities@gmail.com. You can send in audio that way. The iPhone has a great voice memo app that you can simply send those comments right to iPadPossibilities@gmail.com. And I will do my best to get those on the show. And if you would like to be on the show, please send me an email and what topic you'd like to discuss on the possibilities of the iPad. So that will do it for this week's show on music education and the iPad. I'm Tim Chen, and we will speak again soon. In the meantime, keep on imagining.